Chapter 26. In the spring of 1891, Edwin Booth gave his final performance of Hamlet at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. Hamlet was a role his father once owned. The honor now rested upon his son, without rival. Flowers were thrust upon him, speeches given lauding his extraordinary talent. His fellow actors wept and were overcome. As one speaker put it, Mr. Booth's portrayal will be recounted to the generations. Edwin stepped forward, bowing to the thundering applause. He stood perfectly still until the silence begged him to speak. Dear friends and loved ones, the theater has been my life, my heart, the rush of blood in my veins. I have given, for better or for worse, my all to this strange life, and have shared myself honestly. Sincerity is drama's indispensable muse. As his brief speech ended, Ellie looked at me, in the all-knowing way only she can look, summing up our cascading emotions with a tearfully joyous smile, and took our sweet Emmylou home, who whispered in my ear, "Papa, Edwin is magnificent, just like his dearest friend." Edwina traveled for the event, leaving her husband and 2 children, so she could celebrate the historic night in New York. We took advantage of the rare evening of having her to ourselves. We gathered in Edwin's apartment at the Players Club, the trio that first met backstage at the Winter Garden Theater 28 years earlier. As we settled into our chairs, with the heightened glow of an unforgettable night, I asked Edwin how it felt to perform his final Hamlet. It is difficult, yes. A relief, maybe. Strangely comforting, knowing, at least for me, Hamlet is at rest, not another single arrow of outrageous fortune. Will you miss speaking the language of all your great characters? Edwina asked lovingly. Oh, no, sweetheart. All they have said or felt or dreamed is within me. Their words appear in my mind as a gift. They are all with me, companions for my old age, a unique and troubled lot, but friends one and all. Edwin's apartment was an incredible menagerie of his career: costumes, books, plays, props, even a real human skull that a cowboy out west gave him to add realism to poor Yorick's fate. Edwin used the skull for years, wondering whom he might actually be discovering in the grave. Likely a Bart, Mac, or Billy. Certainly no Yorick. After we inhaled Edwina's tasty culinary offering, Edwin asked if I had any new writing to recite, adding, "After Shakespeare's prose, we must have Westerfields to complete such a night." I had just finished a serious poem about the heart-rending lovers Romeo and Juliet, and was especially eager to share it. Instead of my usual reading of a new piece, Edwin politely asked if he could see the page. He silently read each word, then closed his eyes with a melancholic sigh. Then, in a voice of transfixing tenderness, he recited my words. That light from yonder window begins a restless ache. Now a yearning heart a taste of love must take. He looks above, 'tis she, proclaiming love from heightened perch. Her blessed form now blooms with love for one who made the search. A moon-drenched beam reveals her face, surely heaven made, drawn up for his embrace. Seeing beauty born within the light, Romeo's longing song takes flight, where eyes invite a kiss and lips repeat of all the dreams they've dreamt. As the star-crossed pair enfolds within a kiss, the earth's required spin slows for each and every sigh. Let others keep the beat. Let clocks unnoticed tick. Let church bells chime unheard. Let suns rise and fall and linger, for she has found her love, and gold upon her finger. And Romeo, in thrall of every breath, worships her in wonder, till fate, our shadowed mate, recruits a sorrow, unloves their love, destroys their morrow. A poison drains a life once loved, and daggers pierce a hearted throb. With awfulest pang and broken heart, we may only sob. The bard ends his tale. Never was there a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo. Oh, let me lend a brighter hue upon their story fair, for no sweeter love has e'er been etched in prose by earthly pen. So let us join to loose their tomb, and let them live again. Our room of merriment was hushed in reverence for the fabled two. Out of the silence, with trepidation, I told them that I was with Junius the night he died. I recounted his kindness and encouraging words, and how he had spoken of his son Edwin, and how much he missed him, saying his son was likely a greater gift to the stage than himself, and how his brief friendship and earth-shattering recitations of Shakespeare had changed my life and my writing forever, and finally, how he had requested I transform into his son for a fatherly embrace. Edwin listened, lost in a Hamlet-esque haze, absorbing each turn in the tale. Then he stood, taking a stance perfectly resembling his father's, and achingly hollered to the heavens his father's desperate question, "Art thou he, Edwin Booth?" and collapsed sobbing. Edwina and I joined in the huddle and tears. 3 bound hearts, so touched by tales of woe. As our eyes met, Edwin said the dearest thing ever assembled in language. "Isaac, sweet Isaac, you are a poet of the heart. Your romanticism is inexplicable. No wonder my father chose you as partner for his final days." Before I left and walked into the night, Edwin grabbed my arm. "Isaac, did my father recite from Othello the night he died?" "Yes, most heartbreakingly. Why?" "My father became Othello on the stage. He took on the jealousies and madness, the wretched price of blackness, that Othello lived in the play. It was the first play my father ever saw, and it changed his life. My brother John murdered the great emancipator of men, but his father, my father, Junius Brutus Booth, foreshadowed, with the sorrows of Othello, the depravities of hate Lincoln ached to remedy long before sweet Abe took up his righteous cause." I walked into the night reeling with emotion. How did it come to be that I would know this man and his father, 2 great artists who had touched millions with their mastery of language, and in the same lifetime know a lover of language who would free millions from their bondage? Edwin suffered a stroke in the spring of 1893. I spent most days trying to buoy his spirits, regaling the endless shared moments of delight, the little masterpieces of love that had defined us. Edwina was never far from him. No daughter ever loved a father more. In early June of 1893, I had an important reading of my Romeo and Juliet poem, but was horribly conflicted about leaving Edwin. Edwina ordered me to go, proudly holding up the emerald ring that still resided on her right 4th finger, the one I had given her at her father's performance of Romeo. I kissed the ringed hand And then she embraced me, telling me for the 1,000th time that I would always be loved. Before I left, Edwin asked to speak to me alone. "Isaac, do you realize that President Lincoln and my father both died at the age of 56? "Oh, that's right. How did I miss that fact all these years?" I said, truly surprised. Edwin shifted uncomfortably in his bed. He was weak and in dreadful pain. No position brought him relief. A terrible grimace traveled his face. I'd seen hundreds make the journey. I knew if called upon, he could have acted his suffering far more excruciatingly, but he let reality rule his final days. "Isaac, I've been thinking a great deal about foolish things. Things we can never rewrite, nor edit from our histories. I guess that's what men do from their sickbeds, summing up their earthly years with the wisdom their youth happily ignored. Put another log on the fire, then come sit next to me. I want to tell you about a dream I had last night that was quite remarkable." "Well, please do, Mr. Booth. I am always fascinated by the convolutions that wander the vast terrain of your mind." He gave a smile, appreciating, as always, a grand phrase. The new log sprang to life, warming the room, as his familiar hand came to rest on my arm. "Isaac, do you remember years ago sitting in the park at our favorite spot and watching a beautiful little girl in a yellow dress skipping and twirling around us?" "Oh, yes. Who could ever forget that precious sight? I thought you, Mr. Booth, might get up and skip away with her, never to be seen again." Edwin laughed and squeezed my arm. "Well, last night in my dream, I was sitting on our special bench, basking in a lovely summer day, missing you, of course, and studying once again our friend, Mr. Shakespeare, and that elusive expression we can never quite figure, when the beautiful little skipper came bounding my way. She did 3 full turns around William's statue. It was so captivating I thought Shakespeare himself might look down to take in the show. And then the dreamy beauty came to a stop right in front of me. She just stood there looking at me with a perfectly adorable smile." "Did she speak to you?" "Oh, yes, indeed she did." Edwin paused, surely for effect. "Well, Edwin, don't torture me. What did she say?" "She said with absolute politeness, 'Mr. Booth, sir, would you like to take a walk with me?'" A tender child's voice was irresistible, so I said an immediate, "Yes, dear, it would be my honor to join such a lovely young lady for a walk." So she took me by the hand, and we strolled happily down the promenade of statues. We walked past the usual suspects, taking in their well-worn forms. It was idyllic being with this little angel. I was about to ask her for her name when we came upon an elaborate new statue I had never seen. And incredibly, stunningly, in fact, it was a statue of me. "Of you?" I grabbed Edwin's hand wide-eyed. "Yes, of me. It was an exact match of my face. I couldn't stop looking at my own face in marble. It was as if I were staring in a mirror. I must have stood there for quite some time when the little girl gently pulled at my hand. When I looked down at her glowing face, she let go of my hand and pointed at the inscription on the base of the statue. My God, Edwin, what did it say?" Edwin looked at me with an expression I had never seen in decades of friendship, nor from the stage in any role he ever played. "Isaac, dear, dear friend." It read, "Edwin Thomas Booth, the Booth who loved Lincoln." That night, June 7th, 1893, Edwin Thomas Booth, months shy of 60, with his beloved Edwina by his side, shuffled off his mortal coil, as a raging storm paid homage to his passing. Nature herself took up the call to honor a man who cast so grand a light upon the figures of drama. The day of his New York funeral at the Church of the Transfiguration, I held Edwina and wiped her tears, embracing her with the tenderness I once embraced the dying grandfather she never met. She told me the last understandable piece of language her father ever spoke to her was from Hamlet. Doubt thou the stars are fire. Doubt that the sun doth move. Doubt truth. Be a liar. But never doubt my love. After Edwin's New York funeral service, there was a sharp knock on our apartment door. Ellie answered and was handed a package. The delivered item had no postmark, so we believed it was from someone in New York. I took the box into my study. Ellie yelled upstairs for Emmylou to join us, and she immediately caught our curiosity. Inside was an envelope with my name written across it, and a wrapped package below. I read the note aloud. Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. Dear Isaac, I am a fool. A shallow fool, a selfish fool. I hid this treasure from you because I was jealous. Yes, I was jealous of your love for Edwin. What shameful madness! Please, please forgive me. With tenderest love, from a heart filled with memories of you. Athenia. Wrapped in pristine condition was the copy of Hamlet the President asked me to give to Edwin on his behalf. For saving his son Robert, the gift I was certain was lost. After his funeral service in New York, Edwin was buried in Cambridge, Massachusetts, next to his first wife, Mary Devlin. There had been thousands of tear-filled eyes lining the streets of New York, the gravesite far more private. Ellie stood by my side, openly weeping. Emmylou stood by Edwina, giving her the strength to recite a poem she had written for her father. My father was a soulful oak, no wind could trouble, yet upturned from a rush of blood within his singular mind. Oh, do cry, ye heavens, and let thy angels fill the skies with grief, for the one who watched my crib, praised my curls, held to me through crashing storm, the one who made note of all the nothings that were my everythings. That colossus of perfection has been felled. To the ground he goes. I think, I know. No mere earth may contain him. Before the casket was closed upon the greatest tragedian the stage has ever known, I placed inside a copy of Hamlet, signed and marked by Edmund Kean, who trod the stage in the glorious era of Junius Brutus Booth. I kissed his face and whispered, Beloved Edwin, this is a gift from the President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, with approbation and deepest gratitude for saving his son Robert's life. The book and my brother Edwin took to the soil, where in harmony with time shall bring forth the flowers of spring. I watched Edwina take the hand of her 8-year-old son, a young man with a most voluminous voice, destined for the stage, no doubt. He was given a most momentous name, for he, too, is Edwin Booth. Edwin Booth. Within that name a star appears and hurtles through space, through time, through all the hours of my days, and rests in splendor. A place where brothers meet, where God himself, in witness of their love, surrenders judgment.